Okay, hello, welcome everyone. I'm Dr. Frank Stevens and welcome to my open day talk talking about our music technology courses that we have available in the Department of Electronic Engineering at the University of York. So just as a brief introduction, so I'm Dr. Frank Stevens. I have been at York for quite some time now. So I did an MEng in music technology, which is one of the courses I'll be talking about. I finished that in 2014. I then went on to do a PhD in music technology, which I finished in 2018. Both of those were at York. And since then, I've been employed as an associate lecturer in audio and music technology. So I teach some of the content that we'll be talking about today, as well as some other modules in the department. We're going to start by just thinking, well, why would we be interested in music technology in the first place? You might be wondering, what are the good reasons to study music technology? Sort of people that we're looking to appeal to with our courses in particular are people that might say something like, I love technology, I also love music and audio, and I want to combine the two. What our course offers the opportunity to do is to look at the underlying scientific and electronic theory and put it into practice in order to design and build the next generation of audio and multimedia technology. So there's a real focus on the technology side of music technology. So it has a great deal of technical underpinning, but has real creative aspects to it as well. I'd also say from a personal point of view that I think it's very fun as well, and particularly in that mixture of the technical and creative, I think it's a perfect thing to do. So that tells us why we might be interested in music technology in the first place. So now you might think, well, why should I do it at York? Well, the first thing might be to say that there is quite a bit of a pedigree we have here at York. So we were able to offer the first courses in the UK at postgraduate and undergraduate level that actually focused solely on music technology. So, you know, we have a very established department and members of staff that have been working at this for a long time. So we have the knowledge and the technology. The way that our course is set up, like I said, with this real sense of technical ability underpinning some more creative aspects, is that you end up with what we might think of as a proper engineering degree. So all of the music technology courses that we have are IET accredited, so they are they're real solid engineering degrees, but with an ability to really express some creativity. Like I said, they're fully accredited, so the IET, which is the Institution of Engineering and Technology, that's quite a big deal. Not all music technology courses will have that, so that's a real good reason to come and study at York. Okay, so if you said, I'd like to come and study at York, then there's a variety of options available to you in terms of what courses you can choose. So there's sort of one of the main options that we make available is to do BEng in music technology, or BEng in electronic engineering with music technology systems, I should say. So we have a 3-year BEng course, which is aimed at people who have good maths. So that's the only requirement that we have, is having an A-level in maths, a particular grade. So our 3-year BEng course for people starting year 1 is aimed at people who have those good math skills. There are obviously 3 years that make up that degree. So what you typically have in the first and second year are a series of modules which cover lots of aspects of engineering and music technology, and then in the final year you have a project. The second main choice that is available is to do an MEng course. So what that does is that takes the content of the BEng course and extends it to master's level. So you have an extra year of study. For the first 2 years, these two courses are identical, and you can switch between the two at any point within those 2 years. So the only requirement is that to switch to the MEng course, you have to have an average mark of 55 or above in order to show that you are working to a master's level. Okay, so apart from that, the first and second years are exactly the same. Where they differ is that in the third year of the BEng course, you do your final year project, where in the MEng, the third year, you just continue working at different modules, and there's a big software engineering or SWENG project which you do before in your final year there, so fourth year, doing individual projects. Okay, and we'll talk about some of the content of the modules and the nature of these projects as we go on. So both of these are the main courses that are available. They're both aimed at people who have the required maths qualifications before they start. Okay, for people that's not true of, we also offer a foundation year option, so you can apply to do either of these courses, the BEng or the MEng, with a foundation year as well. And in that foundation year, we cover maths, physics, and electronics. There's no explicit music technology content as part of the foundation year, but there is music technology mentoring, so you will receive contact from existing music technology students and music technology staff. And I actually teach the electronics part of our foundation year course. A couple of other options that are worth pointing out: there is a possibility to do a year in industry. So this would typically be before the final year of your degree, and we always have students every year that go off and do years in industry with various audio companies and non-audio companies as well. So that would typically, if you're doing the BEng, be between second and third year, or for the MEng, be between third and fourth year. Okay, so that covers, I think, all of our undergraduate options in terms of music technology. It's also worth pointing out that we do offer an MSc Audio Music Technology course, which again I teach on some of that. Every year we will often have a few students who have done the undergraduate, one of the two undergraduate courses that we offer, that go on to do the MSc. It's a good course. There is also over in other departments at the university, other music technology related MSc or MA courses. So that's another possibility. I'm not an expert on those particular courses because I don't teach them. Before we talk a bit about the content of these different courses, we'll just think about, or we'll have a look at where our graduates actually end up. So, well, you'll see a lot of different company names and logos on this screen. These are all places that we've had students employed at after they finish their degree. So there's a number of different areas that the students go into. So there's various research and development companies that students might end up going into. Programming is a core part of our degree courses. So we get a lot of students that go into app development and software engineering, whether that's for IBM, Google, Microsoft, ARM, or Intel. You see there's a lot of big companies. We also have students that go into audio engineering jobs, as you might expect. So that includes Dolby and then Allen Heath, Focusrite. So I'm not going to name all of these, but all sorts of big audio companies that make audio equipment. And a lot of these companies as well, we have students do their year in industry. Another area that we have students go into is what we might call mainstream engineering. So this is where, you know, if you choose to do a music technology course at York, you're not painting yourself into a corner to be stuck doing music technology. Because it's an IET accredited engineering degree, you're showing employers that you have the skills to do any sort of engineering, essentially. So we have students going on to work for various car manufacturers, so Ford and Jaguar, but also all sorts of other electronics and engineering companies. Media companies also see some of our graduates employed, so that's a lot of them end up at the BBC, or whether it's in the actual broadcast side or in the research and development part. Some of our students end up in the music industry, whether that's looking at studio work or live sound. And again, broadcast jobs. And I think finally, we also have students that go on into financial and service industries, because again, showing that you have skills as an engineer is really demonstrating that you have abilities in terms of maths and logical and creative thinking. So there's some more companies there. So the main point here is that, well, if you choose to do this degree, you really are opening up a lot of possibilities in terms of employment, not just in music technology, in various fields. So I'm just going to briefly cover what facilities that we've got. So in terms of where our music technology facilities are on campus, there are two main areas. So this big red block here is the main electronic engineering department, and this smaller building here is where some of the more specialist music technology equipment is. So over in the main department, we have a couple of studios. So they've been recently renovated. I think it was well, a year or two ago now that they were all redone. So that in Studio One, you have a setup for stereo mixing and monitoring. So there's a nice mixing console, a big TV for doing film sound, and there is also a live room for recording musicians. Studio 2 is quite similar, but it's set up for surround mixing and monitoring as well. So these are studios that you will use as part of some of the modules on these degree courses, but also as music technology students, they're available for you to use in your own time. So that's a very nice thing to be able to take advantage of. This is what the live room looks like. So there's a drum kit in there, a piano, a PA system, a whole set of different microphones and amps. And this room is connected to both studios. So whether you're in Studio 1 or 2, you can make use of this facility. That's all the stuff over in the main department, so this big red blob on the map. Over in Genesis 6 is where some of our more specialist stuff is set up, and where most of the music technology staff are based. So we have the studio over in Genesis 6, so G6. It's now actually, I think this picture's slightly out of date. So in this picture here, you can see it's set up for some surround sound monitoring. It's now set up for surround sound at elevation as well. So it has another set of speakers up high and down low to allow for even bigger surround sound mixes. It has a live room, which you can see in that top picture. And again, it has a HD TV for working on film sound. And this studio again is available for music technology students to use as part of their own free time, not just in their studies. We also have an anechoic chamber. So this is a special treated room which has these foam wedges which absorb all sound, which is used for some technical recording work. And finally, we have a series of research rooms which include 50 speaker surround sound rig, or the Thunderdome as we like to call it, which is used for a variety of different research projects, including collaboration with Abbey Road and with Google. There is some opportunity for students, undergraduate students, who might be looking to do relevant projects to use this equipment, and undergrads will get a demonstration of it as well. So all of the stuff that we have is available for students to use at some time or another. Okay, so if we just look at what topics there are, so we're going to see here the topics that are covered by all of our engineering degrees and the ones which are specific to music technology. So there's analog and digital electronics, so designing and constructing and testing circuitry, computer programming in various languages. Maths is naturally crucial to underpinning basically everything that we do. Throughout each year, there are individual and group projects which allow students to develop research and team working skills. In terms of the music technology side, we look at acoustics and psychoacoustics. I'll explain more in a second. Musical computing, again, using this programming skills for musical purposes. Synthesis, so designing sound generation and using that as part of designing musical instruments. Studio recording and mixing work, and audio post-production. So I'm going to go through all of the music technology parts fairly quickly. So acoustics is the science of sound, how it works. So we have this is stuff that's covered in a number of modules, but mainly the second year module, acoustics and psychoacoustics, which I teach on. We look at the human auditory system. So how we go from having vibrations in air to something that our brain perceives as a particular sound. And as part of that, we cover psychoacoustics, which is the science of the perception of sound. As part of this module, the assignment is to take an example room and design some acoustic treatment for it and do some recording and analysis work in order to evaluate that possible treatment. Musical computing, this is something that comes up in a number of different modules. The programming languages that you will look at include PD or Pure Data, C, Python, Java, MATLAB, Swift, and others. So there's a lot of programming as part of this course. It's the nature of the beast. I'll just play a couple of examples. So one assignment has been to use the language C to create some automatically generated improvised music. So you can think of it as a Turing test for music. Does it sound like a human's come up with it, or does it sound like a computer? So if we listen to a snippet. So it sounds quite natural. So again, that's looking at a technical understanding of something that's ostensibly creative. PD, like I mentioned, is this programming language Pure Data, which is a graphical audio programming language, which students use to create synthesizers and compositions. So here's a piece called Dreaming of the 80s. So that was built entirely from scratch by one of our students. We also use PD for voice synthesis, and voice science is something that's covered, I think, in one of our MEng courses, but also is available to students looking who are interested in that area and might want to do it as part of their final year project. Quickly then, some of the other things, electronic musical instrument design. So looking at novel ways of interacting with hardware in order to create music. So going from something that you can touch and play with, and then creating some sort of sensor to turn that into an electronic signal, which then through the use of some circuitry, you can then connect to some microprocessor. So you end up going from the completely analog movement of your hands to some transduction of that into some electronic signal, and then via a microprocessor convert to MIDI, so you can communicate with a computer or some sort of synthesizer in order to create some audio. Okay, and part of that will involve making some hardware amplifier speaker system in order to have sound be made. Studio recording is part of one of our first year modules. So you, as part of that module, you look at how studio equipment works, what recording practices are best to use for particular examples, and how to actually make those recordings. In terms of the assignments you have, there are two main aspects. One is performance recording, so choosing a live band or some sort of live musical performance and recording that, but also doing some more complex studio-based recording of, let's say, a drum kit. Oh, and the third thing actually is creating a recording portfolio, so creating a studio recording based on your own or someone else's performance. I think this is the last main aspect before looking at projects. So there's, as you've seen, we have a lot of facilities for audio post-production. So there is a module which is based around producing sound for visual media, whether that's film, TV, games, whatever. What you're asked to do is to take a silent media clip, so just the visuals, and recreate the soundtrack for it. So that means recording all the dialogue, making all the music and all the sound effects. And this is a group project. So again, it's an example of developing group working skills and teamwork. The final thing that's part of the main degree courses then is the final year projects. So all of the music technology academics will offer a list of projects which will be some sort of music technology related thing for students to create, design, build, whatever it might be. You can also, if you have your own project idea, you can work on that as long as it's agreed with an academic. So that can be something that's entirely hardware based, so creating something physical with electronics, or could be something that's software based, so entirely based in programming, or some mixture of the two. So the nature of this final project is for you to create something that is novel. So it's really where students are able to show, I guess, primarily or initially their technical abilities, technical expertise, but the best projects are where students combine that with a real sense of creativity and creation of something novel and demonstrating good engineering design principles and practices. If you're doing a music technology degree, you don't have to do a musical project, but typically that is what will happen, and vice versa. So let's say you don't want to do a music technology course, but you end up wanting to do a music technology project. We have both of those happen, okay? So that's basically it in terms of what courses we have. The final thing that I'll talk about is what student societies we have in our department. So there are two main ones that are worth mentioning. One is music technology specific. So there's the York AES, which is the our student-run section of the Audio Engineering Society. So this is a group that organises talks with people from industry that will come to visit the university, helping out at audio conferences. The other society that's worth talking about is SHOCSOC, which is the main society connected with the Department of Electronic Engineering. What that society will do is run lab sessions, so outside of timetabled sessions, have extra fun sessions and competitions to do, visits to different companies, and also this thing called Q Factor, which is the department's annual battle of the bands, where there is a staff band, there is an audio lab band, which is the group of researchers in music technology, and there are student bands that all get up on stage and play some music. So that's it. Thank you very much for watching. I hope that was informative, and hope to see you in York soon.